All right, welcome back. This is going to be part two of our land navigation series. Get my stuff straight here. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to start putting into a little bit of application. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to be in the screen, which I know y'all don't look at me no way, because I'm going to back out where you can see this. Please excuse my artistic ability. I have very little. But I want to go over some of the things that we were discussing on when we were talking about the quadrangle, and then show it in application. Okay? All right. So, now I didn't put the scale on here, so this is not a map. But we've got a north arrow. We're going to assume, for argument's sake, magnetic declination is 0. True north and magnetic north line up. This is our group. Okay? Now, this black line is a county road, comes into another county road. This right here are two bridges. You've got a river or a creek and two branches. Now these may not have water in them except in the wet part of the year. And these are contour lines. Now they're not the exact same color, but they'll have to suffice. This is this marshy area I was talking about, where it's a low area and you have like little tufts of grass drawn in. And that's low ground. It may not be standing water, but it's generally not the best thing to walk through. Good place to be if you don't want to be found. And that's something to remember, as far as the hide site, especially if it's got good tree cover, or canopy cover. But it's not the easiest stuff, and that's the reason it's a good place to hide, because most folks dodge places like that. So, let's assume, just for argument's sake, this is our patrol base. And to do this very easily, what we're going to do is we're just going to go from here to here. Now, we can do it in two ways. We can shoot an azimuth directly to where we want to go, our patrol base. Let's say, just for argument's sake, that's 45 degrees. It's probably closer to 40, but just for argument's sake, let's say it's 45 degrees. We're going to put 45 degrees on our compass. We're going to measure this distance, and let's just say for fun it's 3 kilometers. Okay. Now, we've not went over this, but you're ahead of me and you already have your pace count. So you know that your pace per 100 meters is 55 paces. That means every time your left foot hits the ground, that's a pace. When your left foot hits the ground 55 times, you've gone 100 meters. You've done that 10 times, you've went a kilometer. You do it 3 more times, you went 3 kilometers. So what you would do is now you can buy the pacer beads if you want to. You can put rocks in your pocket, and every time you go 100 meters, you take a rock out of your left pocket, put it in your right pocket, and then you can keep track of how far you're going. There's a problem with that. The problem is you do your pace count on flat ground. This ain't flat ground. So if you're going uphill or downhill, you've got to kind of finagle it just a little bit. It may take, you may have to add 1.5 times instead of to your pace count to get the proper pace count. That's hard to do. Now, it gets easier with practice. But we can also use a thing called terrain association. And this is what most of us do. When we're going down the road and we're driving a car, we don't get out in our car and I'm going to drive 0.3 of a mile on an azimuth of 60 degrees. What you're going to do, you're going to say, I'm going to go in this direction till I get to the Chevron. I'm going to turn right at the Chevron. I'm going to drive to the Burger King, turn left at the Burger King, second house on the right. Similar to this right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something they say not do. We're going to terrain associate, and don't walk on trails, don't walk on roads. I agree. But that doesn't mean we can't use those for navigation points. So instead of a straight line where we got to go down this steep hill, cross this branch, cross the river, go over and hit here and hit a point, what we may want to do is what's called handrail. we're going to handrail the road. Okay? So, we're going to already assume that we can cross the river. We're going to get our feet wet, but we can cross. It's not the Mississippi, which we could cross it too. It'd just be a little more difficult. So, and not to say that we've got to do 90 degrees, but let's just say, just to make it easy, we're going to do 90 degrees. So we're going to put 90 degrees on our compass. And we're going to go 90 degrees till we hit the Blacktop Road. Because there's not another road between here and here. Now, we've got some terrain features that we know we're going to pass. When we come across here, we're going to go down a steep hill, a little bit of low ground, come up a hill, back down a hill, cross the river, go through a saddle, down the hill. We should be able to see the church. And we know if we cross this road, we've gone too far north. And assuming we got something down here, same thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to check it off as we go. We actually may be close enough to know that we're going to see two bridges. This is a bridge over this low ground, another bridge over the river. So as we're coming this direction, we go down the hill, we cross this low spot. As we start coming up to right here, okay, there's a bridge, there's a bridge. Based on the map, we know what distance they should be. We got a good approximation. Gives us a check. Come downhill, cross the river. There's the saddle. We get to the saddle, we should be able to see the church. Now, once we get to the church, then we're going to shoot an azimuth to where we want our patrol base. And I didn't put contrary lines on this side just to be simplistic. But we also have our distance. And so we just come up. Again, handrailing this road. We're not following it directly, but we just know that this road should be to the left. If we cross the Blacktop Road to the left, we're not on course. And then hopefully there's something over here that will be a boundary over here to keep us from being too far this direction. So when we would do it and we would do a route card, that's what we would do. We would have this distance to the creek. Let's just say, for argument, this little branch keeps on coming. So we know we're going to cross it. Now, this, let me find a different color. Okay. We're going to use this leg first. And I know that ain't a straight line. But this is the highest point of this hill. So your contour lines. So this is, let's just say this is sea level. 20 foot, 40 foot, 60 foot. That's the highest point but on our on our route between this branch and this creek. Okay? So this is our RV, or our rally point. So we're just going to call it a rally point. Rally point number 1. Okay. Our next one is this saddle right here. So now we're going to shoot an azimuth to here. This is rally point number 2. Then rally point number 3. And let's put a patrol base a little closer. We'll put it right here. Because let's say that we want to cover this this intersection. So let's, okay. So we're going to put us on a kind of a spur. Don't be right on top of it. So we're going to be just right off the edge of the spur, where we got a good line of sight to the to this intersection. And then this is going to be, well, we could call it our patrol base, or we could call it our objective rally point. Let's call it our objective rally point. Okay, that's where we're going to end up. Now, what's the big deal with rally points and objective rally points? Your rally points is if you ever get separated in your group, What you're going to do is you're going to go back to your last rally point. I'm going to show you the hand signal when we go over hand signals of how to do this. But we leave this, we get to rally point number 1, and now we're going to have stops in here. We're going to have listening stops. And we're going to, when we go over the actual patrolling, we're going to do J-hooks, that sort of thing. But just to make it simple, we get to our first rally point. We're at our first rally point because we're just off the north end of this edge here. We got a branch on our west side. We've got a river on our east side. We've got 2 bridges in front of us with a blacktop county road and low ground. So we're doing a navigation check. We know where we're at. We take off. All right, now we go to rally point number 2. So we've crossed the river, come up the hill. We're between 2 high points. We're on a saddle. Let's say we can still see this bridge. We may actually be able to see the church. But we do a head count, we're missing somebody. If we get separated, we're going back to our first rally point. Now, these rally points have to be easy to find. These aren't the best in the world. Bridges would actually be better because then there's no question at all you're at the right spot. But you would go back and you say, all right, I'm going to wait, depending on the distance, I'm going to wait 10 minutes right here. If I don't see them in 10 minutes or they don't show up in 10 minutes, we're going to go back to our jumping off point and go from there. If we got to rally point 3, we're at the church and we're missing somebody, we would go to rally point 2. We get to rally point 2, let's say we're going to wait 15 minutes. 15 minutes, we ain't seen nobody, they've not linked up with us, we're going to go to rally point 1, we're going to wait an hour. These will be discussed. These will be covered in your operational order before you leave. Everybody's going to know where the rally points are and how long we're going to stay at each rally point. And then there may become a point that we may just come back to the house and everybody just work their own way back. Okay? I hope that's clear as mud. So we get to rally point 3. We shoot our azimuth. We're going to come to our observation rally point. And then we're going to set up our LPOP listening post, observation post, watching this intersection right here, getting intelligence. Okay, that's a real down and dirty way to do a route. We're using handrails or boundaries that we don't get in outside of. Make sure we're staying in the right place. We have rally points where we can check our navigation. These points will be easy to find. Plus, they will be defendable if it's that type of situation for a short period of time. And we'll go from there. Okay? Now, while we're discussing this, now, let's say for argument's sake, and I'm not going to redraw it, but we're coming from this direction and we need to hit this intersection. We actually want to hit the intersection. We're not setting up an observation post. We want to hit this intersection. But we've got this long county road. Now, what you would do is you're moving, even though you're using terrain association, you take your compass, you shoot your azimuth, you find you a tree that is obvious. You can't lose it, or some type of marker. You walk to that tree or that landscape, whatever it is. When you get the itch, you shoot your azimuth again. You walk to the next tree, whatever it is. Now, it may depend on how open the terrain is, how far you can see. If maybe you're using a cell tower, maybe it just happens to look out that your cell tower is on your route of travel. And all I got to do is line up with the cell tower. As long as I'm pointed at the cell tower, I'm heading in the right direction. What if it's at night and you can't see? You know, because we sure can't shine a light. What you would do is, you're right here, you shoot your azimuth, and you take one of your men or ladies, and you put them as far as you can see. Let's say it's right here. They're going to turn around and look back at you, and you're going to line them up with your compass. If you got to tell them move left or right with hand signals, again, you're in visual distance, even at night. This may be 15 feet. It might be 15 yards. If you've got night vision, maybe a little further. Depends on, is it a moon, new moon, cloud cover? You get the idea. But you have to be in visual contact with them. Cat's eyes, the little luminescent things that you put on the back of your bunny hats and your ranger patrol caps. That's what they were for. Then you would walk to that person, and they would go out again. Set up, you line them up, and you would walk to that person. If the terrain is such that there's not good ways of doing a tree, maybe every tree looks the same. It'll work in the daylight too, But that's a good way to shoot your azimuth and stay on line. Regardless, you're going to walk around brush, you're going to walk around trees. There ain't no way you're going to do a straight line. Now, you're coming from this direction and you hit this road. Now, you want this intersection right here, but you don't know if you're on this side of this intersection or this side of the, are you south of the intersection or north of the intersection? You ain't got no idea. What you're going to do is you're going to put in an offset. You're not going to aim directly for that point. That point's too hard to hit. What I'm going to do, I'm going to come down, and let's pretend the church ain't here. I'm going to come down here till I hit the blacktop. I know when I hit that blacktop road, I am south of the intersection I want to hit. Again, I'm not going to walk the road, but I'm going to handrail that road and go up till I can see that intersection. And then I can set up my observation post there. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I hope this is not confusing. There's multiple videos on YouTube that cover this better than what I'm covering it, but this just gives you a rough idea. But again, the more you do it, the easier it gets, the more practice you do. It's actually not really that complicated. One thing I would recommend is when you do it, never argue with your compass. You will always lose. I have done it. I stand in front of you and I said, that ain't right. There ain't no way that's north. Yeah, it was north. This don't lie. Okay? And it's best if you've got a couple people where one's backing up the other one on pace counts and azimuths to make sure everybody's, and then we can take the average. So that's all I got right now. I hope this was beneficial. Like I say, it's not that complicated. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Get you a good compass. I'll be honest, I don't know what I paid for this. $50 maybe. It'll outlive me and you. The only thing that happened to it, if you get D'd on it, it'll delete the plastic up. It'll still work. Looks ugly. It still works. I've got mine from forestry school. I still got it. I loaned it to a buddy. Now, we'll go over how to use the compass. Because what you'll do is you've got this line right here in the sight glass. You'll come down like this. You'll put your red needle that's pointing to north into what they call the doghouse. Like so. You'll put it up to your face like this. You'll be able to see it in the doghouse, looking in the mirror, and you got a little notch right over the top. And when you line that notch up with something to eyeball, you can put it down, stick it in your pocket, walk to it, do it again, do it again, do it again. Okay, that's all I got. Hope I didn't go too long. Hope I didn't confuse you. Hope I didn't bore you. Comments, questions, criticisms, witticisms, put them in the box or let me know. If I can help you, holler at me. Hope you have a great day.